Another look into the wacky, wild, and unpredictable world that is Glyos, the independent toy line I love so much. I like to start these with either a custom that I recently did or a special acquisition so you get a little bit of history behind them, and there's very few things I could have been showing you that show as much history as this. What you see here is a Mark I Kabuto Mushi from the God Beast. Now, the Mushis you've been seeing on Glyos Recap so far have been the Mark II, and those are the production ones. This is hand cast resin, hand painted and assembled. And I don't know, possibly one of a kind because it is hand painted. It's an exceptionally rare piece, and I've been after one since I got into Glyos because I love the look of it. That is a very special acquisition. Now, this was done before Glyos even played into the engineering. The pegging is just, straight up pieces, resin pegs here. And the articulation has kind of suffered because of the age of the toy, but it's still a magnificent little piece. And to know this was cast by hand is quite something. So this is a little bit of look into the history of one of my favorite Glyos lines. And now I'm going to jump cut away so I can very carefully put him back on the shelf, and then we can talk about what came out in the last couple months. Okay, now we can get to some proper Glyos toys with the actual production releases. So, if you were not paying attention to the world of Glyos in the months of April and May, here is what you missed. Since we just talked about Kabuto Mushi 1, let's go to Kabuto Mushi 2 and introduce you to some special FX plastic releases. Look at the shimmer on these. This is translucent metallic, and it's an exceptionally interesting shade of plastic. I'm not sure you can completely pick up what makes it special and unique looking on camera, but I'm doing my best here. This is one of my favorites with this. It looks like those little butterscotch candies your grandma had a bowl of. Like, it's really something to look at. Very cool, very unique. I've seen these more often. There's been some little experimentation here and there with it. I definitely want other producers to pick up on this because it's a really cool look. And I like the tempographs too. That's borrowed from a previous release. I'm kind of happy about that because I didn't like the colors on that one. I do like these colors. So that's a little bit special. And there's also this lovely green one. Very, very nice translucent metallic green, as well as some metallic silver. It's also translucent. It's very, very neat looking stuff. Okay, so get those out of the way. Next up, we're going to talk about the world of the Biomass Monster. I love these things, like I said. I've been meaning to do a video specifically for them, but every time I go to do it, he releases something else that's even cooler, so I always want to hold off and wait for it to come out before I start talking about it, and this was no exception. But I will show you that he did produce a brand new beast in the Neo Nonilla color scheme, which is pink translucent with heavy amounts of glitter sparkles and a very interesting shade of blue. It's a little bit metallic, a little bit very, very saturated, very like sky blue color. Very, very cool. It's an interesting color scheme that doesn't really work for me on some figures. Here, it hits me much, much better. There's another figure he made at the same time that blended over to a few other releases. The aforementioned Mushi that I didn't like the look of, and as well as an Onel mystery figure that had the same release. So yeah, these things are absolutely awesome. All these points of articulation, all these little tentacles and tendrils you can do whatever with. There's a lot of building to have here. We are going to do a video specifically for these once the new arrivals get here, and oh man, are they interesting new arrivals. So that's going to be a random review at some point, but for now, yeah, these things are still awesome, and I've been following these things since they were in the resin prototype stage, so I've always been eager to see those advance, and now they have, and they're coming out in some really wicked colors, which makes me happy. Alright, so we got two drops from Onel Design to talk about here. The first one was an interesting idea because it's a good example of what I love so much about Glyos, which is its connection to the artists, which you don't get from just a standard Transformer you bought off the shelf. No, these are things that go right to the core of who the artist is. introducing the Skate Wars. Now, Skate Wars has nothing to do with hockey, has nothing to do with rollerblades or roller skates or skateboards or anything like that. He just liked the word. See, Skate Wars was a concept that Matt Dowdy had in the 7th grade. And now he has made action figures out of them. He actually posted scans or pictures of some of those drawings he did from his drawing book from 7th grade, and it's kind of stunning. Some of the original Sarvos head is in there, some of his previous figures. You can find the heads, including this head design. It's actually in the book. I'm amazed he held on to those designs for so long, and now he's making them as a toy. That's incredibly cool to me. So yeah, the Skate Wars colors, very, very pale gray as well as orange and a little bit of a kind of brownish gray color. It's a nice little color scheme that works fairly well. I dig it. Now this is a standard Glyon, just so you know, because this will come up very, very shortly because we have something else to talk about. There's all different things that came out with this one. For instance, here is the Faden that came out that wave. I love the colors on this thing. See, alien color schemes like this is what got me into Glyos in the first place. So I love seeing them make a return. Well, not so much a return. This is kind of new. The two-tone purple and the pale blue looks exceptionally cool and very otherworldly. I like it. I like it a lot. Not going to lie. We also had the return of the Quilarians, which were the evolved Nobotos, but they have been heavily souped up. Not only is this one wearing Gly armor, he's also packing a bunch of axis joints, which in this means rather than just typical swivels that Glyos toys use for articulation, he has actually a quite a more significant range of motion in all of his joints, which is actually quite cool. Now, this is something to kind of soup up the Quilarian because they have been getting a lot of releases lately, and to be honest, I've been getting kind of bored with them. So this was a nice little way to reinvigorate them. That said, it was also an expensive way to do it. The whole set cost you $18 because of all the upgrade parts that are required. Now, it does also come with this little guy, which is an Axoloid, little creature guy for a companion piece. So you do get tons of parts to work with, and this doesn't even include all the additional heads and little extra pieces that didn't have places to go on either of these guys. They're just in a bag somewhere. So you do have a lot of parts. You do have a lot of things you can play with. That said, I don't know. I'm not sure this is the right way to reinvigorate the Quilarian. I don't know. It starts getting a little bit more expensive than I'm comfortable with, especially when I got it suggested to you guys. Also, the theme of mystery figures continued. That one ended up being a fanoid, as it were, which is a interesting little idea. So again, it's based on the Adventure People's toy line of old. This one based on the Brainoid. Google it. This is actually pretty close. Right down to the red arm, which is pretty unique. It's a little strange design, but there's something about it I actually kind of dig. These mystery figures end up being like 50-50 for me, but this one got to stay. Might be because it's Thanos based, and I always dig Thanos. Alright, so that's the first release. That was from April. Now let's move on to the May, which hits me a little bit closer to home because it's all based on the classic Lego color schemes, as well as the Lego space themes. And, oops, you're not supposed to show yet. Don't fall over. I'm saving you for later. So, remember that Glyon? Well, here's the deep space version in a very Lego-ish bright yellow with a two-tone yellow color scheme. This was billed as a build wave, which we haven't had in a while. Build wave is kind of the opposite of this, where instead of as many color schemes as possible, a lot of different parts and figures are released in the exact same colors, so you can mix and match and build whatever you want out of them. Now, this one wasn't a traditional build wave in that a lot of molds shared one color. Rather, a lot of additional parts were released in these kind of colors, and the colors themselves were kept rather basic. So, like, here's the red, where it has a two-tone color to it, this straight red and maroon going on. So, the colors do maintain a bit of neutrality, so you can mix and match and create your own combinations, and nothing really clashes with each other. You can still make it work and make it look good if you want to. That said, for build parts, the red as well as the blue got the lion's share, while the yellow only got your standard axis joints, which is a little bit unfortunate. So, but hey, it's nice to at least see some sort of build wave again. Now, I'm going to show you something in a little bit. I'm going to close with it, though. So let's go ahead and get the rest of the wave out of the way, and we will talk about what you can actually do with all those build parts. For starters, here is that wave's standard Faden. Again, I am happy that Fadens are continuing to be released as just standard releases. No armor, no axis joints, no nothing. It's just a straight-up, really cool-looking Glyos figure that is affordable for people to try out. A lot of tampographs and paint on this one, though, and it does look quite cool. I like the gray head out of nowhere. It seems like he's poking out of his armor a little bit. It's a neat look. I dig it. A lot of the standalone Fadens have actually been doing it for me lately. All right, so the one that tipped over and showed itself early is done up in the traditional Lego yellow, which is coming through a little bit green thanks to my lighting, unfortunately. But in person, this is like scary accurate to, like, you imagine the old school Lego sets and the translucent yellow color that they use for the canopies and windshields and everything. For modern Lego enthusiasts, think Benny's spaceship style colors. And that's basically what you got out of this guy. It's a really cool shade of translucent yellow. Very, very happy with how that came out. It does kind of tick my retro buttons just enough. So you get over there, you're out of shot. There we go. Now, here's the cool surprise to this. There was also a gray figure released. And you'll notice it is another Deep Space Glyon, but he is considerably more bulky. He's got a whole bunch of axis joints, a whole bunch of hair. Where have you been kept when you got all this dog hair on you? Sorry about that. But yeah, what you see here, it looks like a Deep Space Glyon. It's actually not. This guy is produced completely from upgrade parts. The helmet and some of the parts are from a sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. So you've got axis joints, obviously. You got these giant balls. Those are from phase arm sets. You've got hub set pieces, which are these domes that you see over here. And there's more phase arm bits. There's more, it's all just standard upgrade parts built together to make a very convincing, like, heavily armored spaceman type thing, which is really cool to know that Glyos is versatile enough that you can just buy a bunch of the upgrades, a bunch of the spare parts, and still build a full-fledged action figure that actually does have decent articulation. He has swing joints, so he has actual elbows. The universal motion thanks to the axis joints on the shoulders. He actually has a lot going on. He also had something else going on that we have not seen in a long time in Glyos. Wheels! Believe it or not, Glyos actually has wheels, and these go back to the origin of Glyos. See, originally, as I drop one, don't worry, I have more. The original toy line that used the Glyos engineering system was an indie toy line called Beantown. Beantown had these little things called spoon racers, which housed this little bean figure that attached with a Glyos peg, and the spoon racer itself was a plastic spoon and a couple of these wheels. So you actually had a little bit of vehicle function on those. Have not seen the spoon released as a Glyos toy, but the wheels do come up every now and then, but it has been years since we got them. So that's actually a really cool thing. And it comes with wheels because, and I'm going to intercut the image in so you can actually see what it looks like, there is a dune buggy mode, which not only fits the space theme that the Lego-inspired wave came with, it also kind of harkens back to some of those old Lego little space buggies that little minifigures got to ride in. So there's a lot of homaging going on here, a lot of old school aesthetic. It came out really, really cool. I'm very happy with that wave. It's a great surprise. That was a great surprise. That was a great figure. Okay, so one thing I always hear when I do one of these Glyos recaps is I talk about the interchangeability, the interplayability of all the parts. You know, that ability to come apart, you know, and reconnect in any which way that has a peg and socket in which to connect. That lets you create your own figures, lets you add functionality, lets you build your own thing. It's up to your imagination, kind of like Lego. However, I never really have an example ready for you. Now, I do. So I took the blue figure from the Lego set. I took a standard Glyon, and then we added 2 swing joint sets, 2 phase arm sets, 2 hub sets, 2 axis joint sets. So 2 of each upgrade, plus a core figure that is a Glyon, and I came up with this behemoth. So this guy, this started off with just the head, which is a Glyon crotch upside down with 2 hub set shoulder pieces acting as the eyes. But that weird look to him kind of slowly gave way to this spiny lobster appearance. And then, you end up with this big spiny blue lobster style robot creature that I have named the Therminator because I like puns. But yeah, this is the extent of the build. This literally uses every single part from all of those figures I mentioned. He even has all these spare heads in the back and a little tiny tail, kind of acting as something of a shell. But yeah, that's the versatility of Glyos. You can create something that big and beastly as long as you have enough parts, enough time, enough imagination, and enough thumb endurance to actually hold it all together. Yeah, these things, it does take a strong thumb to play with, but hey, they are very fun if you like toys where you get to play with your imagination and build what you want, come up with your own ideas. So that has been your Glyos recap for the last 2 months, and I think this might be the last Glyos recap in this current format. The problem doing it this way is I like to show you these things as they come out, and when something really cool comes out, I want to tell you about it right away, so hopefully you can go get it while it's still in stock. By this time, most of the things you see here are sold out. Actually, I'm pretty sure most of it. I think some of the special FX Mushis are still in stock. Maybe some of the Lego Glyons over at O'Neill. Check the links below. I link to the shops of all these toy makers every single time I do one of these in case something strikes your fancy or you like something that they do and you want to follow them to see what they do next. So go check them out. From here on out, I'm going to roll specific Glyos videos into random review. We're not going to do it a toy at a time. I'll do entire waves of things that are far more recent and and that way we get to focus in on them a lot more and really talk about what makes them interesting. It's going to be a rare thing, but hopefully it'll give you a chance to actually take advantage of these take advantage of these videos and actually go get the stuff that you might find a liking in. So with that, that'll do it for Glyos recap this time. Until next time, my friends, because the world of Glyos is ever changing, there's always something new coming out from the madmen who actually make these things.